Welcome to today's webinar on event custom fields. My name is Kirsten with the support team here at Tripleseat, and I'll be walking us through how to create event custom fields. I'm joined by two of my colleagues who will be helping to answer our questions along the way. That said, if you do have any site-specific questions, you can go ahead and submit those to support@tripleseat.com, and we'll be happy to follow up after the webinar today to help get those answered. Additionally, as we go through today's webinar, if you notice that you don't have access to any of the things we're reviewing, you'll want to connect directly with your admin or customer admin on the account to discuss user and user role access. That said, again, today's webinar is going to review event custom fields. That's going to include how to create event custom field sections, the event custom fields that belong in that section, how to then add that information that we've created as a merge field into our documents, and lastly, how to report on the data we've input onto those fields in our event details page. Before we get started with that information though, I do like to review the core fields that come with Tripleseat and where we can change that information for the core dropdowns in Tripleseat, just to help differentiate what we're going to create versus what already exists in the software. To do that, I'm going to go ahead to an event I've already started, and I'm going to click Edit in the upper right to access my event details page. We'll notice our regular event details, and as we scroll past the contact on our event, we have the fields that come with Tripleseat. So that includes your expected guest count, guaranteed guest count, meal periods, type of event, and event financials such as food and beverage minimum, rental fee, and deposit amount. You'll notice here that type of event is a core dropdown as well as deposit type. So in just a moment, I'll show where these core fields can be updated in Tripleseat, just so we don't get confused with the dropdowns and information we'll review in custom fields today. I'm going to go ahead and click Update and navigate back into Settings on the left-hand side here. Head into Preferences in the top and select the Dropdowns tab. As just mentioned on the event we reviewed, here are the core dropdown fields in Tripleseat that already exist within your site and can be customized for dropdown selection. So examples include our event type, as well as our payment methods and our deposit types, as I mentioned before. So these are the core fields where you can customize the dropdown selection. But I like to note we're going to review settings, custom fields, where we can customize the dropdown selections as well as the title of that dropdown, amongst other options. I'll go ahead and click Cancel here, and you'll notice we're back on our settings page. Today, we're going to go ahead into custom fields. We can note that it says here that this section is to create and edit custom fields for your events, accounts, and contacts. Simply what that means is at the top of the page, you'll notice there's a few tabs related to each section of Tripleseat where you're able to create custom fields. The first being event fields, the second being booking fields. This applies if your team uses the new booking button in the upper right of Tripleseat. The third option is account fields. The fourth is contact fields. And lastly, location fields related specifically to your locations. Again, we're going to be staying on event fields today to learn how to detail out information for our events. As we scroll down, you'll note that you may already have a section of custom fields related to payments. Commonly, many venues will already have an event payment schedule that they've had created within their system, such as second or third deposits. We're going to go ahead and review how to add additional information that pertains outside of payments today. To go ahead and get started, I'm going to create a new event category. While this isn't required, it is a great way to keep your event details page organized and keep information in each section. So that way, when you're scrolling through the event details page, you can stay organized and avoid getting lost. So as I click this, I'll go ahead and give it a title. I'm going to start with taxes and legal. So oftentimes, users may have a tax-exempt customer and they need a tax-exempt ID entered. So we can create that by using our custom fields. I'm going to scroll down and I can see I now have a section labeled taxes and legal, and I'm going to click add field. This will add the field to this section on my event details page. The name of the field, again, is customizable, so whichever your team would like to use for verbiage would be the best information to put in here. In this case, I'm going to put tax exempt ID, as that's the most recognizable verbiage for my team. The category will be taxes and legal, and then the field type I will keep as text short. That said, if I click this here, I have a list of drop-downs to select from, so that way I could create a field with different options to select from. Meaning, if I needed this to be a radio button, typically used to put an answer of yes or no, I could do so by making this field type a radio button. In this case, this field will stay as a text field, so that way I can enter in numbers and letters as needed, depending on how tax-exempt IDs appear for your company. Lastly, I'm going to select all locations that need to use this field, and I can go ahead and click Save. We can see that this field has now been created, and later on, we'll go ahead and review how this information appears on our event details page. But I'm going to create 2 more fields so we have some information to get us started. Next category I'm going to create is costing. So although Tripleseat is not a costing software, your team can create fields related to your specific venue that can help you input information to compare your cost to your event. So I'm going to click Save, and I can see I now have a costing section that I'm going to begin detailing out for my event details page. I'll click Add a Field, and I'll name that field, again, whichever pertains best to my venue. Typically, this could align with your menu item categories. So if you have something named food, you could type in food. Again, the category will stay costing. And then this field type is going to be numeric. So numeric is different than currency amount in the sense that currency amount will allow for an input of dollar, and this is related to when you're creating a custom payment field. So we're going to go ahead and leave this as numeric so we can still enter in a number amount when putting in that cost related to the food. We'll click our locations, and you'll note here that there's the option to make this field required. If you check this off, your team will not be able to create an event without inputting this information. Since I want to be able to create an event and finalize my menu selections, this field will not be required because I will want to enter this information post-event. So I'll go ahead and click Save. And I'm going to add another field for beverage. Again, you could detail these out as specifically as you wanted. So if you wanted one maybe for soft drinks and alcohol, you could do so. You would just keep creating a field as you need. So using our drop down again, I select numeric. I will select all locations and save. As well, I'm going to click back into this beverage field I just created, and we can note that an additional field pops up here that makes this searchable. So if I were to check this off and started filling in information on my event details related to beverage, this would then make it a searchable field in my toolbar or my search bar here at the top of the page. In this case, though, I'm fine having it not searchable, so I'm just going to update. Now that I've created some of my costing section, I'm going to create my last section for staffing. So again, we're creating our new event category. I'm going to label it staffing and click save. Scrolling down, I'm going to click add a field and name my section. So I do add security to my events. So I'm going to label this security. In this case, for my drop down, I'm going to select from my multiple checkboxes. This will allow me to check off more than one staff member when I choose to add them to an event if needed. When you click multiple checkboxes as your field type, you'll notice that you now have the ability to add in your options. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. And I can click save. I'm going to go ahead and click this again. And you'll notice now that I have 3 options. So required, searchable, allow new entries to be added on the fly. This applies to options such as multiple selection and multiple checkboxes. If I check this off, this will allow me when creating an event to add in a name or an entry as I'm detailing out the event. I'm checking this off just because I may hire a new security guard night of the event, day of, so on and so forth, and that will allow me to enter it on the event details page without having to come back into my settings page here in custom fields. So we'll go ahead and click update, and I'm going to go in and add my bartenders. This again will be a multiple checkboxes. I apologize, multiple selection. And I'll add my options. So this could be your staff name or whichever, again, will help you identify your fields. And we'll go ahead and click save. And those will be the fields today that we're going to have created for our new event details. Now that we've created these fields, I do want some of them to appear on my documents, so that way my staff can see that information when I print BEOs, kitchen sheets, or whichever is pertinent information for them. To do so, we're going to navigate into our settings. We're going to come down to Documents, and we're going to edit from our template. So you'll click Edit Template Content to the right. And just like any other document edit, you're going to want to put in the information where you want it to appear on your template item. So in this case, I want my tax exempt ID to be in the event info section, and this will just help my staff, my finance staff, to see that information right at the top of my documents. And to add a custom field, it is related to merge fields, which involves right-clicking. As we right-click, we will navigate to Event Field because we created a custom event field. We will then select Custom Fields, and you'll notice that each section to the left is broken up by the fields we just created in Settings Custom Fields. So I know that I can find my tax exempt ID under taxes and legal. A merge field will not pull in data until it is entered on the event because that is where it pulls its information from. So this merge field is telling Tripleseat, once you have this information entered, go ahead and pull in that detail. We're going to scroll down and I'm going to go ahead and put my staffing into my special instructions here. So I already have security staff typed out, but what I would like is for my security staff name to appear when I check it off on my event details page. So again, this will be a merge field, and I'm going to right click, go to event fields, custom fields, and then select staffing and security. I'll repeat this for my bartenders, event fields, custom fields, staffing, and bartenders. You can add all of your custom fields to your documents in text sections as needed, but for this, I'm just going to add those select fields. Now that they've been added in, I can click Save Template, and this information will not appear on existing documents, but it will appear on newly created documents moving forward since this was a template change. Now that I've saved my document, we're going to navigate back to our event so we can begin filling out the custom fields that we created and add a document to our event. So if I click Edit in the upper right, I'm going to scroll down and we can now see that our event details page is a little bit longer due to the fields we just created. So after event financials, we'll find our costing section, our payments, which were there before, our staffing, and our taxes and legal section that we created. I like to note that custom fields in Tripleseat are truly customizable to your venue's need and are an amazing tool at your venue's disposal. So if you have any thoughts on something you think might work with a custom field, don't hesitate to reach out to our team for any ideas or working through something. That said, in order for information to pull in, the information has to be input. Tripleseat does not know this data without being told. So we're going to start from the top. And if we already knew our menu selections, or if you already know your cost, you can go ahead and put that in. And then we'll scroll down to staffing. So I'm going to have Bob and Steve working this event. I'm only having one bartender for this event, so I'll go ahead and select Alex. I like to note that in this case, I had made my security something I could add on the fly to, but I did not check this off for my bartenders. So if I added a new value, and went back in, we'd see that it exists as a checked off option. So now that I've gone down, I'm going to add in my tax exempt ID. And click Update. I can go ahead to the Docs tab now and add a document to this event. And we'll see at the top, I have my tax exempt ID number appearing since we added that information on the event details and added that merge field into my documents. Scrolling down again, we're into our special instructions and we have our security staff that we selected as well as our bartenders. Again, these are pulling from the custom fields we just added into settings documents, edit template content. You could always add a merge field on the fly by right-clicking, going to Event Fields, Custom Fields, and if I wanted to put costing in, it would appear as so. So the name of the actual field will not appear, just the information that was input into that field. So if I needed to differentiate what that merge field is I just put in, you would want to type a form of header or text. I can go ahead and save this contract now and go into reporting. So the great thing about custom fields is these can now be reported on once you include data in those fields on events. Any newly created custom fields will appear on both current and past events. So if there's any information that you want to pull into a report, your team can go back into past events and input that data, as well as any current events and future events. I'm going to go over here to the reports, and we're going to utilize an event details report. I'll go ahead and click Custom and Customize. We're going to utilize our Date of Event section and click a date range. We'll go into December of this year, and we will go to the 9th all the way to the 14th. I'll go ahead and click Done. And there is two ways to include custom fields on reporting in Tripleseat. The first one we're going to review is utilizing custom fields in our columns. So I'll come over here to my columns. Just like a regular report, if there's any information you don't want to include, you can use the red trash can to remove that data. That said, to include event custom fields in our columns, we're going to select Event Custom Fields and then check off the fields we want to see as columns on our reports. So we can click Securities, Bartenders, Beverage, Food, Tax Exempt ID, and you'll see those all as columns available on our report. Again, you can continue to remove data that doesn't apply and click Run Report. We'll notice that we have two events this week that we ran our date range for, and to the right in our columns is our custom fields. You'll notice that there's information on our wedding here on the 14th, and that's because we were able to input information into our custom field sections that we created. However, we did not detail out our events and their custom fields for the event on the 10th. So these columns are blank, whereas these columns include that data we input. I'm going to go ahead and customize this report again. And this time, I'm going to include the Custom Fields tab. The Custom Fields tab will allow you to run a report for events that only have that custom field included. So when I click Add Custom Field, there will be an initial drop-down. And this is saying at the moment that I am looking for events with bartenders that only have Alex checked off. So if I change this drop-down to Matt or Mark, that's again looking for events that only have Matt as a bartender. You can continue to add custom fields to further refine your search, but that again would only include events, for example, that have security staff with Bob and Matt as a bartender. So this is a very granular way to get your report narrowed down. It's not often used because this is looking for a very specific scenario. That said, if you wanted to see how much you owed Matt for his events for the week to pay him out for something, this would be a great way to utilize this column, our custom field section. So I'm going to just remove this line. I'm going to adjust this to Alex, and I'm going to update my report. We can now see that that event on the 10th is no longer appearing, and only my event on the 14th is available because Alex is the bartender for this event. Again, although I can see all of my columns, the reason this event is the only one that pulled up is because I utilized the custom fields tab here and used these drop downs to look for events where Alex is the bartender. I'll go ahead and close this. So today we've reviewed how to create event custom fields, the core fields within Tripleseat that already exist on your event details page, how to add event custom fields as merge fields into our documents, as well as how to utilize event custom fields on our reports. Again, event custom fields are a tool that your team can use to detail out events and make them specified to your venue as needed. So these fields, although they are general and something we went over today that some users commonly use, you can again make these custom to what suits your venue best. If you have any questions on custom fields and ideas that you may want to review or have to go over with, we'd be happy to do so. Simply submit a question to our team or set up a time to go over a call, and we'll be there for you guys. I appreciate you all attending. We'll give it a few minutes to wrap up and see if there's any additional questions. Alrighty, so it looks like we are good to go. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to support@tripleseat.com or use your helping question button in the upper right of any Tripleseat site. Thank you guys for attending.